record.
Hi, everybody. You are attending the Toastmasters District 54 Meetup seminar. My name is Scott Mochinski, and we're at the point where we're going to get into setting a Meetup account. We use Meetup for our Toastmasters clubs here in Champaign. There's 3 of them currently under one account, and we're going to kind of go through a little bit tonight how to make Meetup work for you. All right, we're at the point of setting up a Meetup account. As I said earlier, I am part of 2 Meetup accounts. I have my own personal account, which is under my name, and I work on and help administer the Meetup account for 3 clubs in Champaign, Illinois. So if I don't have an account, I want to go to the meetup.com website, and I want to click on sign up. And it's going to ask me if I want to continue with Facebook, continue with Google, continue with Apple, or sign up with an email. When I created my personal account, I signed up with Facebook, but when I created the account for our Toastmaster group, I signed up with an email. So I click on that. You'll see the first thing is your name. That's going to be the name of the account holder. This can be anything you want it to be. For my personal account, my name is Scott Mochinski. That's the name I used. For our Toastmaster account, the name we gave it is Champaign Area Toastmasters. It can be any name you want. It can be an organization name. It can be a nickname. It can be your personal name. It can be anything you want. I wanted our Toastmaster account to be a generic name that represented everyone in that account, so we named it Champaign Area Toastmasters. There's 3 clubs that use that account. We'll get to that a little bit later, but that comes into play for email address. We decided amongst our 3 clubs, the 3 clubs are McKinley Toastmasters, Toast of Champaign, and Fireside Toastmasters. We came to an agreement with all those 3 clubs that McKinley would be the club that administers the website and is responsible for the website or for the account, for the Meetup account. So we gave it the email address, the generic Toastmaster email address of President 467 at toastmastersclubs.org. Where McKinley got that email address from, I believe it was from Toastmaster International. I'm not sure. It's a generic email address assigned to the McKinley Club, and whoever the president is at the time has the access to that email address. So because we decided that McKinley would administer the club, we gave it the name of Champaign Area Toastmasters. We used the email address of President 467 at toastmastersclubs.org, and we created a password for it that we understood everybody who was going to help with the Meetup group would have access to. So even though the email address is assigned to the McKinley Club, the administrators from Fireside Toastmasters can log in using that email address and using that agreed upon password that we created for all the clubs to use. This doesn't give anyone access to the President 467 at Toastmasters.org email. It just gives you entrance into your Meetup account. That's the only reason we use it for that. Now, if Meetup sends emails, they will go to the president, that email address, and it will be up to who's ever the president of the club at that time to make sure that any emails from Meetup get to the right people. Once you create your account, you create your name, you create your email address that you want to use, you create a password, then you're going to be able to log in. I'm not going to go through it and create a whole brand new account because I already have to and I don't need another one. So that's the first step of creating your account. Once you get in and create your account, there'll be settings that you can adjust and everything else. So I'm just going to go back to the generic Meetup website, and I'm going to log in. And I'm going to log in using our Toastmasters account. All right, so we're in the Champaign Area Toastmasters account. Let me get to where I need to be. Let me minimize my screen because I've got the Zoom meeting information blocking the thing I need to be. All right, so this is the Meetup account for Champaign Area Toastmasters. And you'll see under that account, we've created 3 different groups. We created a group for Fireside Toastmasters, we created a group for McKinley Toastmasters, and we created a group for Toast of Champaign. If I go and look at the profile for this account that we're in, we see that the name we gave it was Champaign Toastmasters, okay? And nobody's individual name, just Champaign Toastmasters. We gave it a location as Champaign, Illinois, and there's 3 members of this account. Each of those members are these groups. Let me check one thing. Okay. So as the administrator, as logged in as an administrator of this account, there's things that I can do with it. I can go into the groups. If I want to go into McKinley Toastmasters group, which is a group we created, I can go into the McKinley Toastmaster group. And I can do things like create events. I can administer, I can make all the settings on here. I can create events and I can manage the group. That individual group happens to have 18 members right now. The organizer of the group is Champaign Toastmasters. Even though I sat down and did the work, and some of us sat down and did the work, Champaign Toastmasters is the name on the account, so Champaign Toastmasters is the organizer. What we did, so for McKinley Toastmasters, for the McKinley Toastmasters group, Champaign Toastmasters is the organizer. Now what the organizer can do is pick members of the group to be co-organizers. And the co-organizers can also do things like create events and send out messages and administer this specific group. The co-organizer of a group cannot mess with the overlying account, but it can do things within a group. So what we did was, even though Champaign Toastmasters, this generic entity, is the group, I am a co-organizer. Me personally, using my personal account, I am a co-organizer. One of our other group members is a co-organizer as well. You can make any one of the group members a co-organizer to help you administer the specific groups that they're in. If I go back to the generic account, the Champaign Toastmasters account. Once you want to create a group, this is where Meetup starts charging you money, or charging the account holder money. So if I want to be a member of a group, I can join as many groups as I want. I can go to many events as I want for those groups, and Meetup doesn't charge me anything. When I want to make a group of my own and host my own events, that's when Meetup is going to charge me. They set up an account, and I don't know the exact details of it, but I believe you assign some account that they can take the money out of on a monthly basis or 6-month basis or an annual basis. I'm not exactly sure, but you set it up just like any automatic payment account to any other bill that you might have. So what we did was we took McKinley Toastmasters. McKinley Toastmasters has a bank account by which it pays its bills. And that is the account that we use to pay Meetup for their fees for McKinley to have, or for Champaign Toastmasters to have the 3 groups that it does. I don't know what the rates are going for Meetup right now. When we signed up, it was X number of dollars every 6 months. And with that, you could create up to 3 groups, which worked out perfectly for us because there were 3 groups in Champaign that wanted to be on this one account. So we used the McKinley Toastmasters account, bank account, to pay the bill, and then Fireside and Toast of Champaign will just pay us for their portion of their 1/3 of the bill as it comes up. They pay our club directly. We put that money into our account. The account goes to Meetup whenever they bill us. That's why you got to kind of have to agree on, when you're setting up your account, you have to agree on who is going to pay the bills and who's going to be responsible. Really, Meetup, that's the only thing they're concerned about. They don't send out a lot of emails. They do bill you for the groups that you start. So again, once we do our fee, we set up the 3 accounts. Those clubs, Fireside and Toast of Champaign, will pay us their portion whenever the bill comes up. McKinley sticks it in the account, and all Meetup knows is that they're being paid by the account holder, Champaign Toastmasters, with the account number that we gave them. They don't know that, they don't know anything about a McKinley club or a Fireside club or anything like that. All they know is that this account number is where they're getting their money from, which allows for that generic Champaign Toastmasters account holder title. All right. Once we've got that, I'm going to sign out of here because we've got our 3 clubs, or we've got our 3 groups set up. We can't create any more groups unless we want to pay a higher fee. So I'm going to log out here for just a second. And I'm going to log in with my personal account. All right, with your personal accounts, you can, or with any account, whoever the account holder is can start a new group based on the parameters, 3 groups for a certain amount of dollars per time frame. And if you want to start a new group, you just go to start a new group. And Meetup walks you through everything you really need to know. Once you start a group, you're going to be the organizer. Whoever the account holder, whatever name on the account is, just like we saw in Champaign Toastmasters, that's going to be the organizer of the group. You're going to click on Get Started. And it's going to walk you right through it, like I said. So the first group, you set up the location. For me, it recognizes that I'm in Champaign, Illinois. If I wanted to change that, I can change it. I can make it anywhere I want it to be. but we're going to keep it in Champaign. And it's going to say next. Choose a few topics that describe your group's interests. Be specific. This will help us promote your group to the right people. You can choose up to 15 topics, and they show all these topics you can use. You can search for topics, click on show more. It'll bring up a new list. You can do up to 15. We chose, they've got some ones that are really specific to Toastmasters: fear of public speaking. They have personal development. They have nonprofit. They just have a whole bunch of different topics that you can list and choose as many or as few as you want, up to 15. So I am going to, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to click on motivation, and it tells me to go to next. You gotta pick at least one topic when you're setting up a group. What will your group's name be? Again, this could be anything that you want it to be. We created one group for each club, and we gave each group the name of the club. So in this case, just again for demonstration purpose, I'm just going to keep it the Champaign Motivational Meetup group. That's suggested by Meetup, but I can change it to anything I want to. Describe what your group will be about. That's up to you. Again, we use a format that you can see when we go into the McKinley Club. They'll show you a little bit later. They'll make suggestions. Please write at least 50 characters. So I'm just going to take their example. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste it. All right. I'm going to go next. They'll have you review their guidelines. And you're going to agree and continue. And this is where you see what payment options you have available. It looks like right now you can pay every 6 months. You get for $8.24 times 6 months, every 6 months, or $11.99 per month. Again, with that, you get, I think, 3 groups that you can create. It doesn't matter if you create 1, 2, or 3 groups. It's going to be the same fee of whatever it is. So you pick your payment plan, you give them their information, confirm subscription. You'd see that at the rates they're going now, if I choose to pay every 6 months, for 6 months, it's going to be $50. Again, if we're setting up in our system when we've got 3 different groups, that $50 would come out of McKinley Toastmasters account. The other clubs would chip in to McKinley Toastmasters when the bill comes through. I'm not going to click confirm subscription because then they're going to charge me and they're going to ask for my information, and I don't want to create this group. So we're just going to get out of here for now. And we're going to see that me personally, as a member, I am a member of all these different meetup groups. Some of them are Toastmaster related, some of them aren't Toastmaster related. I'm going to go to the McKinley Toastmaster page. And we're going to see this is how we created this group. I didn't create this group in my personal account. I created this group under the Champaign Toastmasters generic account. When you go to the club site, you see it gives you this is the name that we picked. This is the location we picked. You see it's organized by Champaign Toastmasters because that's the account we created this under, and 2 others, which we saw before, which is myself and one of our other members. All right, so we're gonna go out. You had a problem. Let's go back. All right. Once Now, because I'm a co-organizer of this group, I can create an event. An event for our purposes, for Toastmaster purposes, is a meeting. Anyone who's a co-organizer can create an event, or the organizer can create an event. When I'm doing Toastmaster business and creating Toastmaster events, I don't do it from my own personal account, even though I'm a co-organizer and could. I log in under the Toastmaster account. So I'm going to log in this time under President 467 at toastmastersclubs.org. Now again, for login purposes to Meetup only, there's people at Fireside who use this email address to log in. There's people at Toast of Champaign who use this to log in. We all use the same password, but that's the only reason we use this email and that password is just to log into Meetup. All right, once I'm in Meetup, now the little icon up here has changed. It's not me anymore. It's this generic Champaign Toastmasters person. If I click under the little arrow, I see that there's been 3 groups that this generic account holder has created. If I click on any one of these groups, it takes me back to the exact same page that we were just at, except now I'm logged in again as Champaign Toastmasters, not as Scott Mochinski. From here, I can create an event. Don't worry, Tony, I'm not going to actually create an event. We'll get halfway there and then I'll not create it. Once you want to create an event for the very first time, it takes a little bit of time, not a whole bunch, a little bit of time, especially if you have a slow internet connection. And it gives me the option. I can either create a new event or create a past event or copy a past event. Obviously, if this is the first time that you've created an event for a group, you're going to create a new event, and it's going to walk you through everything that you need to know to create the event, or that you need to do to create the event. You're going to create a title for it. You're going to list the date and time. You're going to list the duration. If you want to upload a photo, you can upload a photo. If you want to do a description, it gives you a chance to do a description. Location. You can add venues, and it's nice because you can search for venues, and based on where your group is located or based out of, it'll help you. So I can do the Champaign, I can search for Champaign Public Library, for example. And you get a drop-down list with all these different options. And if I click on Champaign Public Library, for example, it'll plug it in, it'll give the address, it'll give all the information that Maps has about Champaign Public Library. You can edit the map. Once you get in, you can edit the location, you can change it. But it's a really nice feature to help you set the location for your events. How to find us, this is just specific instructions. For example, I'll show an example of one of our events before, but just little notes to the people. The hosts is automatically going to be Champaign Toastmasters because that's who the account holder is for this account. You can add a host if you want to, and then it gives you optional settings that we really don't use. One of the options is repeat the event. Even though we meet every 2 weeks on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month, we don't repeat the events simply because things happen. Things come up. We tend to not pay as much attention. There can be glitches in the system, and information might change if you just click on repeat events and don't pay attention to the events as they're going up. So what we do is we create a meeting, we have our meeting, and then right after that meeting, we create an event for our next meeting. And you'll see that's going to be really easy. You can set limits, you can allow guests, RSVPs, all these different things. You can charge an event fee if you want to charge an event fee. That's where they got the $200 from on that other one, I guess. And then as you're doing this, you can save it as a draft, you can preview it, you can publish it. We're not going to do any of this because I don't want to set up this event. But once you've got that original one set up, it becomes super fast to set up your next event. What you would just do is, if we go back to, I do want to lose all the events that I already entered. Okay, so we're back on the McKinley Toastmasters page. We go up here and we click on events. And we see our next one is scheduled for April 22nd, 6 p.m. There's the title of it. Here's the description we gave of it. Obviously location, we're all going online now. So once we've got an event established, if I click on that event, this is the official thing that the public will see, that the general public will see and all the members will see. If the general public's looking at this, they're going to see all these things. If they're not logged in, they're going to see all this information, but they're not going to be able to join the event. Once they log in and have an account, then there'll be a chance to join the event. There'll be a little button that says join the event or go to the event. Once our events are over, like I say, then we create our next event. You can see I'm already going to this event. So if our event happened and we're ready to create our next event, all we're going to do is go again back here to create event, and we're just going to copy a past event. And then Meetup is going to show you all the past events that we've had before. Now we're going to go back to one where we're still meeting in person, just to show you. And we're going to go down to manage. And we're going to go copy event. Once you do that, everything pops up that you've already entered in your first one. Everything pops up again, and all you really have to do is change the date and the time. The description is probably going to be the same. If you want to change it, you can, but it's probably going to be the same. And the location, if you need to change that, that'll change. But everything else is already pre-filled in. Once you make those changes, which may take just a minute or two, you publish it and you've got your new event ready to go, ready for people to join. It's very simple. It's very quick to repeat events once you have established your first one, and all the other ones are just the same, and all you have to do is change the date and time. That's a pretty in-depth explanation of Meetup. There's a lot that you can do with it. It's a great way, again, like I say, it's a great way to get people who are in your area to see your events, see your meetings, and possibly sign up. That's really who we're trying to use to attract. What we're using Meetup for is to attract people who aren't already members, because if they are already members, they're using our club website, or they're using our Facebook club group to get all the information they need about specific meetings. This is for bringing in people. The person who's sitting out wherever you are and is looking for something to do in their area has maybe heard of Toastmasters or wants to do public speaking or anything like that, and they're going on the meetup site, they're searching for public speaking, and your Toastmaster group is going to be what pops up on their meetup on their meetup page. They're going to join, they're going to become a group member, they're going to join the group, they're going to become a group member, they'll hopefully come to one of your meetings, and then they'll hopefully become a member of your club. That's about all I want to cover. Like I say, I know it's a lot of information. It could be kind of confusing. So if we want to take the remainder of the time, if there's any time left for questions, I'm happy to open it up for that.
Scott, this is Ron. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I had a session with Scott one-on-one, I'd say about 3-4 weeks ago. And if any of you are really interested in getting this going, I think the toughest part is doing that account setup when you share it with 3 other groups. And I think we just saw that this meetup is now at a 50% discount. I remember when I signed up last time, it was $98, and that's a pretty good chunk of change. But if you divide it by 3 clubs, it was $30 for 6 months, and it ends up being $5 a month for a club, which I think is very much worth it. Now it's going to be like $3 a month for each club. I think the trick is trying to find 2 other clubs that would want to join you, and then being able to get it set up. And I think once you get it set up and get it working, and then it's kind of like setting it up and then working the system, because I think the system really works like what they're doing in Champaign, is that after every meeting that they have, then they post the next meetup that's going to happen. And if you keep doing that repeatedly, I think you build up a following, and I think meetup really starts to turn into something fruitful for your club for membership. So I think that to me is it's kind of like the tough part to get through, is to get the meeting set up, get the account set up so that you're sharing it with 3 clubs, so the cost is very minimal, and then working the system, and that after every meeting that you have with a Toastmaster meeting, that you just copy and paste the thing again into the meetup account, and then now you've got 2 weeks for people to sign up to go to the meetup meeting, and hopefully new people. So that to me is my 2 cents worth here of, I think the value of meetup is it's really but the challenge is to get it set up and then doing the repeat process. But I think it's a valuable source for us.
Yeah,
and
I
thank
agree.
you very much, Scott.
It really reaches out to people who may not know about Toastmasters, or the general public who may not know anything about Toastmasters. And my name and email address, I believe, are published somewhere on the District 54 website, where if any of you need help or want to discuss this, just contact me, and I'll be more than happy to walk you through the process or discuss the process a little more.
Hey Scott, this is Sue Hartung from DeKalb Toastmasters and also Talk of the Town. With the DeKalb Toastmasters, we've had our own separate meetup account for about 18 months, and we are getting a tremendous amount of followers, 40 people that we have no idea really who they are or what town they're living in. They do not attend our meetings. We've never had anyone who has actually said, I found you on Meetup. So we'd like to really market to them the way that we could through messaging, or what other features are on Meetup where we can specifically address those people that are not members.
Yeah, absolutely. Meetup does allow you to send messages and emails to the whole group at once. So when we see we have a whole bunch of people that aren't just attending meetings, we'll shoot them a message or an email and just say, hey, we'd really love to see you at one of our meetings. Hope to see you there. Any questions, things like that.
Oh, could we do separately? Though, like just send just to those people, that group of people?
Yep, absolutely. You see when there is, let's go back to McKinley real quick.
We've only had 1 or 2 of them who have like unfollowed us, so a sizable chunk of people out there.
Right. So when you notice that on the on the page of the McKinley Club group page, it says members.
Mhm.
My sorry for the slow internet connection. But once you get into the members section, you can message individual members, and that's what we are. As soon as somebody new joins the group, the meetup group, I'll send them a generic email saying, hey, welcome to the group. I'm Scott. If you have any questions, just please contact me. Hope to see you at one of our meetings.
Yeah, and I've done that too.
Right.
But again, it's, then I never have any communications with them after that.
Right. So once you're in the members area, you can message them all. You can message them individually. The little dots over there. Here's a little icon for messaging them. You can interact with them individually or as a group, however you want to.
Is there any demographics, though, of those 40 people that are following us? Is there any way to find out geographically where they are? Because, Meetup covers a large section of the population.
As far as I know, there's no reports on the demographics. You can kind of, if you want to click, let's click on me, so I think offended or in trouble here. So if you click on me, you're going to go to my personal profile. And you'll see that I'm in Champaign. You'll see that I'm a member of this group. And it used to, if I view my full, if you click on view full profile, now you're going to see my personal Meetup account profile. And you can see that I'm a member of Champaign. I've been a member since then. I've attended 5 meetups. You'll see that I'm a member of 5 other meetup groups. So this might help give you a clue of where these people are. Yeah. I mean, you can see that all mine are in Champaign.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful.
Yep. So yeah, just look at the individual profiles.
Scott, when you and I had the conversation, you had mentioned to me, because what I was doing is I was posting, like you were saying, I would just post it, and then I would have successive meetings for like the next 3 months. I would have all the meetings scheduled out because I didn't want to be bothered with posting it every time. But I think if you don't do that and then just post the next meeting after the meeting that you just had, then it kind of sends a message out to the meetup world, doesn't it, that now there's something new happening. But if you've got them successfully listed, or successes, followed in succession listed, it doesn't have quite as much effect as if you post it once after every meeting. Is that accurate?
I will agree with that 100%. People might sign up for meetings 6 months in advance, and by the time that 6 month rolls around, they don't remember that they signed up for this thing 6 months ago. And especially, we hold our meetings at the library. Sometimes the room numbers change. Sometimes the library has to move us to a different room or reschedule us, or sometimes the coronavirus pops up and we have to go online. So if you plan the further you plan out meetings, the more changes you have to make to those meetings in the future. And once you've established a meeting or a meetup, once somebody joins that meetup, you can't make changes to that particular meetup. You have to cancel it and create it all over again from scratch anyway.
Isn't there some benefit too that, every time that you post something new, it kind of refreshes your information out to Meetup, as opposed to having them all listed out 6 or 8 in a row? Or is there no...
Every time you create an event, it sends it, you can publish it to everybody, and it'll send an email to everybody that event is happening now, or that event has been scheduled.
But if it's been already scheduled all 6 at a time, it won't do that every time you have a meeting, will it?
I don't believe so. I'm not 100% sure, because we don't do that, but yeah. I don't think so. I don't think it does now.
Yeah. I think that's
It can, but the problem is that the Meetup backend system tends to get things confused, and we'll start to schedule meetings that are not when you actually had a meeting, and you can't cancel it without canceling the entire series. So doing one meeting at a time, one meetup at a time, is the more appropriate route to go instead of a reoccurring meeting. And this is something that's been acknowledged by the engineers at Meetup, and they just got acquired by a new private equity firm, so hopefully they'll be able to correct some of those issues with reoccurring meetings. But until that's resolved, I would recommend only using one meeting at a time.
Yeah, and really, once you're copying a meeting, it literally takes a minute or 2 minutes tops to copy a meeting and get it published.
I would really like to see this platform spread like wildfire within District 54. I mean, that would be so great. And we've kind of got a nucleus now. We started out with maybe 5 to 7 people attending these meetings. Now we're up to, went to like 10 to 12, and now we're up to almost 20 per meeting. So I'm hoping that with all the work that Scott's doing, that we're going to get some traction here. And then it's going to spread. Once people start publicizing the successes of these things, and we just need some successes that we can give testimony to, and then I think it'll become a very important asset for District 54.
Yeah, there'll be months and months that go by where we'll have guests at every meeting, and they'll all have heard about us through Meetup.
Hey Scott, this is Jeff from Fox River Toastmasters. Quick question, do you see value in asking current members to log on to Meetup and indicate they're going to be attending the meeting so that visitors can see that there's perhaps 15 people attending the meeting instead of like 2 or 3 potential attendees?
There is a value to that, yes, to a point. The only downside of that, I would say, is that for a long time, McKinley had there's a maximum number of members you can have in a group under that specific payment plan. I think it's 40 or 50, and we were bumping that maximum number of members at every month. So we limited it to people who weren't members of the club. But yes, if you have room for current club members to be part of the Meetup group, absolutely. It's tough to get people. If a person sees that no one's going to this Meetup, then they don't want to be the one person.
Right. Thank you.
Yep. And I think we even addressed that in our Meetup event thing. We addressed that. We say, hey, even though doesn't look like there's many people attending this Meetup, the number of people at the meeting is going to be more than you see at the Meetup group. Let me see. Any other questions? Any other concerns?
Hey, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
When people are setting up their meetings, make sure that they look at all the details they can put there, because there's a length of meetings that is sometimes overlooked. The timing is usually something you put in. And also, if you have your website address so people can visit your website, make sure your website is also accurate in the details. That's all.
Yeah. Exactly.
Say, Scott, there was a question in the chat room from Charzetta. It says, Scott, how do you obtain the president's email?
Talk to the president of the club.
I think she was, go ahead.
Like initially, like if you're, I don't know how that email address works. I don't know if it's assigned by Toastmasters International. Chris, maybe you can speak to this. If it's assigned by the district, if you have to request it, or how it comes into existence in the first place. I don't know.
Anyone can create a Gmail account. And Ron, that may be an opportunity for a future webinar, is how to create a Gmail account for a club.
Well, I have a question about that too, Chris, because I think the one that Scott has is something that might be generated by Free Toast Host, or, you know, by the website, because I know on our Free Toast Host website, there's, you know, president at, you know,
Yes,
freetoasthost.com or something like that.
but that's only valid within Free Toast Host itself. It is not valid externally, we've found. Only contact us is available externally. All of the other email addresses are not externally available.
Okay. So Scott, is that one that you are using there in Champaign? Is that a Gmail account?
No, it's, I don't know what you mean, Chris. I'm not sure what you mean by externally available.
Well, so I apologize. I've been bouncing in and out of this meeting. What's your email account that you're using for this login?
President's
At what?
at toastmastersclubs.org.
That is, well, then that is a Free Toast Host account.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would mean, Chris, that everybody that has a Free Toast Host website would be able to use that email address for this purpose. Is that true?
I cannot validate that because I've seen evidence contrary to that.
Again, the email address that you're assigning to the Meetup account is strictly for login purposes and for the purposes of Meetup sending information about your account or problems or to get the money for it. So any emails that would go to that email address that we're using is strictly between the president of McKinley and Meetup. That's who we want to be getting the Meetup emails, because that's the account that is administering the finances and everything else with Meetup, the relationship.
Scott, question, do co-organizers also receive those emails?
Yeah, no. It depends on what, it depends on what the email is for. So for example, for billing purposes, co-organizers will not receive the email that, hey, your bill is due or anything like that. Not only that, but in the account that you have for the clubs, the only members of that, of the account itself is not a group. The account itself does not have co-organizers. Only groups have co-organizers. So the account holder is the only one that gets the information. Whatever email address the account holder for Champaign Toastmasters has, that's the only person who gets the emails, because there are no core organizers for accounts. There's only co-organizers for groups. And the account is not a group.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I've also been told that Meetup is suggesting now, of course, a lot of groups all over the country are going through Zoom meetings and online meetings. I've also been told by another organizer of a Meetup group that Meetup is suggesting that if you're going to set up an online meeting, a Zoom meeting, that you don't give out the link and the password early, or you don't post it just on the generic group page, that you find out who's attending the event, and then you message them the link and the password, you know, the day of or early on or hour early or whatever. But they kind of suggest not just posting the link and the password to your Zoom events on the generic page, in order to kind of, like, if you do that, then anybody in the country or anybody in the world can see that and join your meeting, and that's not what you want.
And that's applicable for club websites. Don't post meeting information on your club website ahead of time for people to be able to join. Invite them to your meeting and collect their information, and then send them the link to the online meeting as appropriate.
Yep.
Any other questions from anyone? Otherwise, we're going to call it an evening here, and want to thank Scott again for doing a great job. I hope you don't mind repeating this stuff, Scott, but I think every time I listen to this, I learn something more, and I hopefully other people have. I know we've got quite a few repeat guests, but the thing that I would reiterate is that Scott helped me out, and he's not opposed to one-on-ones if you need some help to get going. But I think the trick is to, again, try to find a couple other clubs that'll collaborate with you and get past the setup. And then once you get past the setup, then just repeat yourself every time you have a meeting. I think it'll pay dividends for us.
I agree.
Other than that, unless there's any other questions or comments, we'll call it a night here, and thank you all for your time. Hopefully you got value out of this. Good night, and thanks again, Scott.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.